Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD, where we uncover hidden gems in the world of rare coins. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in American history, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. You may have seen these pennies countless times in your pocket change, but did you know that some of them are worth an unbelievable amount of money? Stick around, because we're about to explore why the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny could be worth up to $90,000. Yes, you heard that right, $90,000. Let's start with a bit of background on the Lincoln Wheat Penny. First minted in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the Lincoln Wheat Penny has become one of the most recognizable and beloved coins in the history of the United States. These pennies, often just a small part of our daily transactions, have a rich history that spans over a century. But among all the years these pennies were produced, the 1958 edition stands out for a variety of reasons. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny was the last year this iconic design would appear on U.S. coinage. Starting in 1959, the penny would be redesigned with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, but in 1958, the wheat design, featuring two stalks of wheat on the back, was still going strong. This makes the 1958 penny not just a coin, but a piece of American history, representing the final chapter in the era of the wheat penny. So, if you've got a 1958 wheat penny tucked away in your collection, you've already got a piece of history. But let's dive deeper into what makes this coin so valuable and why collectors are willing to pay top dollar for it. One of the key reasons the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is so sought after is its rarity in certain conditions. Like most older coins, many of these pennies were used heavily in circulation, meaning they show signs of wear and tear. Coins that have been in your pocket for decades can become scratched, discolored, or dented, making them less valuable in the eyes of collectors. However, if you happen to have a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny in mint condition, unworn, shiny, and crisp, it can be worth significantly more. Now, let's talk about the coin's design. On the obverse side, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. This image has become one of the most enduring symbols of U.S. currency. Surrounding Lincoln's portrait are the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the minting year, 1958, and the mint mark, if applicable, beneath his bust. The reverse side of the coin features the classic two stalks of wheat, symbolizing the nation's agricultural roots. It also bears the inscription E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, and the coin's denomination, 1 cent. The simplicity and elegance of the wheat penny's design make it a favorite among collectors and an emblem of American currency. So, what sets the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny apart from others in its series, and why is it particularly valuable? As I mentioned earlier, condition is everything when it comes to coin value. While most 1958 pennies you encounter will be worth just 1 cent, a mint state or uncirculated coin from this year is much rarer and highly prized. These coins, with no signs of wear, are essentially in the same condition they were when they left the U.S. Mint. And if you happen to have one of these in your collection, you're sitting on a potential goldmine. In addition to being in excellent condition, some 1958 Lincoln Wheat Pennies are valued for minting errors. During the minting process, mistakes can sometimes happen, and these errors can drastically increase the coin's value. For example, you might find a penny with a double die, where the design appears to be struck twice, or a misaligned die, where the image is off-center. These error coins are incredibly rare, and because of their unique features, they're highly collectible and can fetch astronomical prices at auction. Collectors love error coins because they're one of a kind. A 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a minting error could be worth far more than a typical penny in mint condition. In fact, some 1958 wheat pennies with unique errors have sold for thousands of dollars at auctions, proving that these seemingly ordinary coins can carry extraordinary value. But even if your 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny doesn't have a minting error, it could still fetch a pretty impressive sum if it's in pristine condition. Coins graded as MS 67 or higher, mint state 67 or higher, can be worth much more than their face value. A coin in this condition will have sharp, clear details with no visible scratches or marks. These high-grade coins are incredibly rare, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them. Let's take a look at the market. The value of a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny can vary significantly based on its grade, rarity, and condition. For example, a circulated 1958 penny might only be worth a few cents. However, a 1958 penny that's uncirculated could easily be worth several $100s. And when it comes to error coins or high-grade examples, the value can easily soar. So, how much is the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny actually worth? Well, depending on its condition, your coin could be worth anywhere from several hundred to thousands of dollars. But here's the most exciting part: if your 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is in near-perfect condition, or if it has one of those rare minting errors that collectors crave, you could be looking at a coin worth an eye-popping $90,000, that's right, $90,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe, but it's true. The world of rare coin collecting is full of surprises, and coins like the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny are prime examples of how a small, seemingly ordinary piece of currency can become a rare and valuable treasure. So, what should you do if you think you have one of these valuable coins? First, make sure to carefully inspect your 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Look for any signs of wear, but also check for any minting errors, things like double strikes, off-center prints, or any other unusual features. If you believe your penny could be worth more than face value, consider getting it professionally graded by a coin grading service to get an official assessment of its worth. In the world of coin collecting, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a prime example of how a simple penny, when preserved in excellent condition or with a unique minting error, can become a highly sought-after collector's item. Whether you have one of these pennies lying around or you're just starting your collection, always keep an eye out for potential treasures. You never know what you might find in your pocket change. Today, we're shining the spotlight on one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This humble coin may look unassuming at first glance, but let me tell you, it's got a story to tell and a value that could leave you astounded. So stick with us as we explore why the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny is not only a significant piece of history, but also potentially worth a small fortune. By the end of this video, we'll reveal exactly how much you could pocket if you happen to own one of these valuable coins. Spoiler alert, it's $97,000, yes, you heard me right, $97,000. Let's begin with a bit of history. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. With its distinctive wheat stalk design on the reverse side, this coin quickly became one of the most recognizable and beloved coins in the United States. Over the years, the design went through some changes, but it remained a symbol of American values, hard work, and prosperity. The wheat penny is often seen as a snapshot of the country during times of both war and peace, making it a must-have for collectors interested in the nation's rich coinage history. Now, the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands out as one of the more notable years in the series. The design on the 1954 penny still features the wheat stalks on the reverse side, symbolizing the agricultural backbone of the country. However, this was nearing the end of the wheat penny series, which would officially end in 1958 when the Lincoln Memorial design took over. So, the 1954 penny represents the tail end of an iconic era in U.S. coinage. If you're lucky enough to come across a 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny, don't just toss it aside. The 1954 penny could be worth far more than you think, depending on its condition. Coins that have been used in circulation for decades can show signs of wear, like scratches, discoloration, or dents, which can reduce their value. However, a 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny in mint condition, meaning it has minimal wear and still retains its original shine and detail, can be a highly valuable asset for collectors. What makes the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny particularly exciting for coin collectors is its rarity and pristine condition. Most of these pennies were used for everyday transactions and, over time, they lost their sharp details and became worn down. But, if you happen to own a 1954 penny that has been carefully preserved or has remained uncirculated all these years, you're sitting on a potential goldmine. Let's take a closer look at the coin's design. The obverse side of the coin features a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. It's one of the most famous images of any American president on U.S. currency. Surrounding Lincoln's bust are the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of minting, 1954. If you flip the coin over, you'll see the wheat stalks on the reverse side, which has been a hallmark of this penny for nearly 5 decades. The phrase, "E pluribus unum," appears above the wheat stalks, with 1 cent proudly displayed at the bottom, and the inscription, "United States of America," along the top. This design, which honors both the nation's agricultural history and its political legacy, is not just a reminder of the past, it's also a key part of why collectors value the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny so highly. The simple, yet elegant design evokes a sense of nostalgia and pride for many who have collected these coins over the years. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny even more valuable. As I mentioned before, condition is one of the most important factors that determines the value of a coin. A 1954 penny that's been circulated for decades will likely have some damage, dings, scratches, or faded details. However, mint state or uncirculated examples of this coin are far more sought after and can fetch a premium price. Coins that are graded as MS-65 or higher are considered to be in excellent condition and can be worth much more than the average 1954 penny, but wait, there's more. If you happen to own a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny with a minting error, you could be sitting on a rare and highly valuable coin. Minting errors are exactly what they sound like, mistakes that happen during the production process. These errors could include things like double dies, where the design is stamped multiple times, or off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned. These errors are not only rare, but they make the coin unique, which is what collectors love. If you've got one of these error coins, it could be worth a significantly higher price than a standard 1954 penny. So, what is the value of a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny? Well, as with any coin, its worth depends on several factors, such as its condition, any minting errors, and the current demand in the market. A typical, well-worn 1954 penny may only be worth a few cents, but when you move into the territory of high-grade coins or those with minting errors, the value increases dramatically. If you're lucky enough to find a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny in near-perfect condition, or better yet, a coin with an error, you could be looking at a pretty impressive payday. Here's where it gets really exciting. If your 1954 Lincoln wheat penny is in mint state or has a unique error, you might just have a coin that's worth $97,000. Yes, $97,000 for a single penny. It's not every day that you come across a coin with that kind of value, but in the world of rare coin collecting, it's a possibility. If you think you might have one of these valuable pennies, make sure to take a close look at its condition and any unique features. And, of course, if you think it's worth something special, consider having it professionally graded by a reputable coin grading service. Having an official grade can help you understand exactly how much your coin is worth in the market. So, the next time you come across a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, don't just brush it off. Take a moment to inspect it carefully. It might be worth more than you realize. With its rich history, beautiful design, and potential value, the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny is a true gem in the world of coin collecting. Today's video is definitely for you. We're diving into a piece of American history that may be hiding in your collection right now, the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny. This coin might just seem like an old penny at first glance, but trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. For decades, this specific year has held a special place in the hearts of coin collectors, and there's a very good reason why. The 1917 Lincoln wheat penny isn't just another penny. It's a reminder of the early 20th century and one of the most iconic designs in American numismatics. But beyond its historical significance, this penny has become a highly sought-after collector's item. Before we get into the coin's value, let's take a little trip back in time and explore the history behind the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny. First issued in 1909, the Lincoln wheat penny quickly became a symbol of America's resilience and hardworking spirit. It featured President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, with the wheat stalks on the reverse symbolizing the nation's agricultural roots. It was a design that captured the essence of America and became one of the longest-running series in U.S. history, lasting from 1909 all the way to 1958. Fast forward to 1917, and the U.S. was in the middle of World War I. The world was changing rapidly, and the coinage of the time reflected that. The 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands as a symbol of both the great wartime effort and the post-war optimism that followed. While the U.S. was gearing up for its role in the global conflict, people still relied on these small coins to conduct their daily transactions. But little did they know, the 1917 penny would go on to become a highly valued treasure many decades later. Now, let's take a close look at the design of the coin. On the obverse, you'll find a strong portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing to the right. This famous image, designed by Victor David Brenner, was the first time a U.S. president was featured on a coin. Surrounding Lincoln's bust are the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1917. The design is simple, yet powerful, making this penny instantly recognizable even to casual collectors. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the iconic reverse side of the coin. It's adorned with 2 stalks of wheat, which were symbolic of the agricultural strength of the United States. Above the wheat stalks, you'll see the phrase, "E pluribus unum," meaning, out of many, one, a reminder of the unity and strength of the nation. Below the wheat stalks, the inscription reads, 1 cent, and at the top, you'll find, United States of America. This reverse design was in use from 1909 until 1958 and has become one of the most recognized coin designs in American history. So, why is the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny so highly sought after today? A big factor is rarity. As with most older coins, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value. Most pennies from this era were circulated for years, enduring plenty of wear and tear. However, finding one in mint condition, or better yet, a highly graded example, is what makes this coin worth a significant amount of money. Coins that have been well preserved or remain uncirculated are extremely valuable to collectors, who are always on the lookout for the best examples of these iconic pieces. Another important factor to consider is mint marks. The 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted in several locations across the U.S., with the Philadelphia Mint being the main producer. However, the coin could also have a Denver or San Francisco mint mark, which can affect its value. Some years had a higher mintage, while others had much lower production numbers, making them rarer and more desirable for collectors. If you have a 1917 penny with a mint mark other than Philadelphia, it could potentially be worth even more. Let's not forget about error coins. Minting errors are a collector's dream because they make a coin completely unique. If you come across a 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny that features a rare error, such as a double die, off-center strike, or clashing dies, you could be sitting on a coin that is worth significantly more than the standard issue. These error coins are considered rare treasures in the numismatic world, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them. So, it's always worth inspecting any older coins for potential mistakes that could increase their value. Now, here's where things get exciting. The 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny can range in value depending on its condition. In general, a well-circulated coin is worth only a few cents or a couple of dollars. But if your 1917 penny is in excellent condition, graded as MS 65 or higher by a professional grading service, its value can skyrocket. Some 1917 Lincoln Wheat Pennies have been sold for thousands of dollars, especially those in uncirculated condition, but the real kicker here is the rarest of the rare. If you happen to find a 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny in perfect mint condition, or even better, one with a special error, you could be looking at a mind-blowing figure. Coins like these have been known to fetch as much as $107,000 in today's market. Yes, you heard that right, $107,000 for a single penny. Imagine having a penny that's worth $107,000. That's more than just a collector's item, that's a piece of American history with incredible value. So, if you have a 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny lying around in your collection or in your pocket change, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. You might just be holding onto a small fortune. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American history. It might seem like just another penny at first glance, but today's featured coin, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, has a story and value that's bound to surprise you. So, buckle up, because you're about to learn why this seemingly ordinary coin is worth a whole lot more than you might expect. Now, before we get into its value, let's set the stage. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the Wheat Penny series, which was first introduced in 1909. This series, featuring the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, was produced for nearly half a century, from 1909 until 1958. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the most beloved and widely collected coins in American numismatics. But while the design is certainly timeless, the 1957 issue holds a special place in the hearts of collectors. The 1950s were a pivotal time in American history, with the post-war economy booming and the nation experiencing a period of prosperity. But in the world of coinage, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny marked the end of an era. This year was one of the last to feature the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse, as the design would soon be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. So, this coin wasn't just a piece of currency, it was part of a transitional moment in American numismatic history. Now, let's talk about the design of the coin itself. On the obverse, we find the well-known portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. The image of the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner, has been a constant since the very first Lincoln cent in 1909. Surrounding the bust of Lincoln, you'll find the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year, 1957. It's a straightforward, yet dignified design that has become synonymous with American values and heritage. On the reverse side, you'll notice the classic depiction of two wheat stalks, symbolizing America's agricultural roots. Above the wheat stalks is the phrase, "E pluribus unum," meaning, out of many, one, and below, we see the inscription, 1 cent, along with, United States of America. The wheat motif on this coin is not just a design choice, it represents the backbone of the American economy at the time, a tribute to the nation's farmers and their role in the nation's prosperity. But let's get to the exciting part, the value. Now, if you're holding a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, you might be wondering just how much it's worth. After all, this is just a penny, right? Well, not exactly. Like many coins from the Wheat Penny series, the 1957 Lincoln Penny can be worth a lot more than its face value, especially if it's in mint condition. So, what makes the 1957 penny special in terms of value? First off, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its worth. Coins that have been well preserved and are graded highly by professionals will naturally be worth more than those that are heavily worn or damaged. The highest grade coins, those that are in uncirculated or proof condition, are where the real money lies. If you have a 1957 penny in top-notch condition, it could be worth a pretty penny, pun intended. Let's talk about the rarity factor. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced in relatively large numbers, especially from the Philadelphia Mint. In fact, the 1957 Philadelphia Mint mark variety is among the most common in the entire series. However, there are still certain variations, such as coins from the Denver Mint or coins with minting errors, that are much rarer and much more valuable. So, if your coin has a mint mark other than Philadelphia, or if it features a unique error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. A minting error can greatly increase the value of any coin, and the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is no exception. Some examples include double die errors, where the design appears twice, or off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned. These error coins are highly prized by collectors because they are unique. Essentially, no two error coins are exactly the same. So, if you have a 1957 penny with a rare minting error, it could potentially be worth thousands of dollars more than its regular counterparts. Another factor to consider when determining the value of a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is its condition in comparison to other pennies from the same year. As I mentioned earlier, most of the 1957 pennies were produced in large quantities and circulated for years, meaning many are in poor condition. However, if your 1957 penny is well preserved, it stands out from the rest, making it a sought-after item for collectors. The better the condition, the higher the value. Now, let's talk about the value range for a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. For a well-circulated coin, you might expect to see it worth somewhere between 50 cents to a few dollars. However, the value increases significantly when the coin is in higher grades. For a graded MS 65, mint state 65, coin, the value can soar, and if the coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth several $100s. But the real jackpot comes when you find a highly graded 1957 penny with a minting error or a rare variety. That's when the coin can fetch some serious money. So, are you ready for the big reveal? If you happen to have a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny that's in exceptional condition or features a unique error, you could be looking at a value of $78,000. Yes, you heard that right, $78,000 for a single penny. It's mind-blowing to think that such a small coin could hold so much value, but that's the beauty of rare and collectible coins. They have the potential to be worth far more than their face value. In conclusion, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is not just a piece of currency, it's a treasure with significant historical value. Whether it's a well-preserved uncirculated coin or a rare error penny, this little coin is much more than a mere relic from the past. It could very well be sitting in your collection or even in your pocket change, waiting to be discovered. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in the history of American currency, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny. It might seem like just a simple penny at first, but trust me, this coin has a lot more to offer than meets the eye. By the end of this video, you might just be looking at your own collection a little differently. Let's dive into the history, design, rarity, and value of the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, and by the end, I'll reveal a shocking figure that will blow your mind. Let's start by setting the stage. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced during a critical time in American history. The world was in the midst of World War II, and the United States Mint was working hard to produce the necessary coinage to keep the country's economy running smoothly. But the 1944 penny wasn't just any regular penny, it was produced during a time of change in the world of American coinage. If you take a look at the coin itself, you'll see a design that was first introduced in 1909 and continued through 1958. This coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with his iconic profile and the words, "In God We Trust," along with the year of minting, 1944, and the word liberty. It's an instantly recognizable design that has been a symbol of American pride for generations. The reverse side of the coin is where the magic happens. This side features two stalks of wheat, symbolizing the nation's agricultural heritage. The phrase, E pluribus unum, can be found above the wheat stalks, and beneath them, you'll see, 1 cent, and United States of America. This design was chosen to honor the strength and resilience of the American people during a time of hardship and war. And while the Lincoln Wheat Penny is widely recognized today, the 1944 version holds something particularly special. Now, you may be wondering, what makes the 1944 penny so valuable? After all, this coin was produced in massive quantities. Well, it all comes down to rarity and condition. You see, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced in several different mint locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While most of these pennies were mass-produced, certain variations and mint marks can make the coin much rarer and more valuable. In particular, the 1944 penny with a D mint mark, for the Denver Mint, is the most sought after by collectors, but rarity is just one part of the equation. The condition of the coin is also incredibly important when it comes to determining its value. Coins that are well preserved or in mint condition fetch far higher prices than those that have been heavily worn or damaged. Many of the 1944 pennies that were produced during and after the war circulated heavily, meaning that finding one in pristine or uncirculated condition is a rare find indeed. But if you're lucky enough to have a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny in top-notch condition, your coin could be worth a whole lot more than you might expect. In fact, a mint condition 1944 penny is worth significantly more than you might imagine. But what about those pennies that have a little something extra? Some 1944 Lincoln Wheat Pennies have what's called minting errors, and this is where things get really exciting. Mint errors are mistakes that occur during the production process, and they can make a coin far more valuable. For example, some 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on steel planchets, which were meant for use in 1943 pennies. These steel cent errors are incredibly rare and can sell for thousands of dollars, depending on their condition. In addition to the steel penny error, there are other minting errors that make the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny more desirable to collectors, including double dies, off-center strikes, and misaligned dies. These error coins are incredibly valuable because they are unique. No two minting errors are the same. If you happen to have a 1944 penny with any of these errors, you could be holding onto something that could make you a lot of money. Now, let's talk about the actual value of a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. For a well-worn or circulated coin, you're probably looking at a value somewhere between 50 cents to a few dollars. However, things start to get more interesting when we look at coins in higher grades. If you have a high-grade uncirculated penny, especially one with a rare mint mark or error, the price can jump significantly. A graded MS-65 coin could fetch anywhere from $50 to $100, but the value skyrockets for error coins. If you have a 1944 penny with a steel error, for example, you could see the price tag easily reach the thousands. Some of these rare 1944 steel pennies have been sold at auction for upwards of $100,000. Yes, you heard that right, $100,000 for a single penny. But even if your 1944 Lincoln wheat penny doesn't have an error, it can still be quite valuable if it's in pristine or near mint condition. Some uncirculated 1944 pennies have sold for as much as $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the specifics. But now, the moment you've been waiting for, the ultimate value of a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. If you happen to own a high-grade uncirculated coin with a rare mint mark or error, you could be sitting on a priceless treasure worth up to $87,000. Yes, you heard me right, $87,000 for a single 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. That's the kind of value you can expect if you're lucky enough to have one of these incredible coins in your collection. Of course, finding one of these rare pennies is no easy task, but if you do, you could be in for an extraordinary windfall. In conclusion, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is much more than just a coin. It's a piece of history, a symbol of perseverance during a turbulent time in American history, and, for the right collector, a coin that can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just getting started, it's definitely worth taking a closer look at your pennies, because you never know, one of them could be worth a small fortune. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more exciting coin discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting.